Tonight on NewsWatch, 2 Athens residents are arrested for drug trafficking. Plus, a debt ceiling deal has been reached. Now it's up to Congress to approve it. And an Ohio veteran celebrates a major milestone. NewsWatch starts right now. Two Athens residents are arrested for drug trafficking. Good evening, I'm Reese Thompson. Welcome to NewsWatch. Athens County Sheriff's deputies arrested James Creamer and Sandra Petrie after multiple complaints by neighbors. Creamer and Petrie have been charged with trafficking and possession of methamphetamine and cocaine. Detectives conducted a search warrant on a mobile home and 3 separate campers off Rainbow Lake Road yesterday. Police say they found almost a pound of methamphetamine, half pound of cocaine, and a quarter pound of psilocybin mushrooms. The sheriff's office says the pair could face additional charges. An inmate in Summit County escapes from prison. The Summit County Sheriff's Office says Jason Conrad escaped while out for a medical appointment. In a Facebook post, officials said Conrad took off a walking boot he was wearing because of a previous injury. Conrad was able to escape when he was getting out of the transport vehicle. Officials said he was handcuffed at the time. Conrad is facing charges of, quote, willfully fleeing, possession of drugs, trafficking in drugs, and a parole violation. Multiple agencies are assisting in the search. A family of a man who died a drug overdose while in jail is suing Scioto County. Corey Cantrell died of a fentanyl overdose at the jail on June 18th last year. According to the wrongful death lawsuit, jail personnel failed to provide Cantrell with timely treatment despite being told repeatedly by other inmates that he was showing signs of an overdose. Cantrell was placed in a holding cell with another inmate who smuggled in the drugs. The lawsuit also alleges jail personnel failed to properly search the inmate. The inmate is facing a charge of involuntary manslaughter. Conshohocken County deputies are investigating the drowning of a 2-year-old girl. According to the Conshohocken County Sheriff's Office, deputies received a call at around 9 p.m. Friday night reporting a possible drowning. When deputies arrived at the scene, they found the child unresponsive in a creek. The child was flown to the Nationwide Children's Hospital, where she was pronounced dead. The investigation is ongoing. Ohio Department of Natural Resources is warning anyone making a budget based on revenues from new drilling to be patient. ODNR Director Mary Mertz says those making plans for that money will have to wait at least a year before the state gets the money. Some of those funds could come from horizontal drilling or fracking, and Mertz says regulating and controlling those projects will be important.
Good evening. I hope everyone had a wonderful Memorial Day weekend and got a chance to get outside and enjoy that lovely weather. We saw a couple of clouds on Sunday, but overall the temperatures are nice and lovely. Our family had a bonfire. It was absolutely gorgeous outside. Currently in Athens, it's about 82 right now with mostly cloudy skies. We're seeing a couple clouds begin to poke out this evening, but most of the day today was beautiful blue skies. Now, a lot of these clouds we're starting to see are from that lingering low pressure system off the coast in the Atlantic area. And I know you're tired of hearing me talk about it, but trust me, this system is beginning to move towards the east. And we're just going to see the tail end of these clouds moving into our area for the rest of the day and a little bit into the night. And over the past 24 hours, we saw temperatures within the region drop into the 50s, but they quickly picked up throughout the day today, providing us with temperatures of a high of 84 in Lancaster and in Athens, and in Newark and Zanesville at 82. So some very comfortable temperatures. We're starting to see these temperatures begin to pick up as we move throughout this week, and we'll continue to see that increase. Tonight, however, we'll see a drop to a low of 58 with mostly clear skies, so some still very, very comfortable temperatures as we're starting to make our way into these summer nights. Stay tuned for my full forecast about what we can expect to see later this week. Over to you, Reese.
Thanks, Emily. In Sarahsville, Ohio, Shenandoah High School is giving its students a first-of-its-kind experience, and it's on a farm. We sent NewsWatch reporter Morgan Anderson to show us what it's all about.
Out in the cow pasture at Green Acres Farm, getting stuck in the mud isn't unusual. But what is unusual is who runs this Sarahsville farm in Noble County.
We basically have to tell them we have to go home at some point. They want to be here, so we don't have an attendance problem, as you can see.
Here at Green Acres, farm living is the life for these students, like Eliza Carpenter.
When I wasn't in class and say I had a study hall or one of my teachers weren't here, I'd come down and help vaccinate the cattle.
From taking care of the cattle to flying drones to check up on waterways.
Yeah, so right now he's at 352 feet.
It is all in a day's work. More than 100 students take care of the daily chores for the cow-calf operation on almost 140 acres of land. Students trade time in the classroom for hands-on experience relevant to their community. School leaders say for Ohio, it just makes sense.
There's roughly 90,000 jobs in the state of Ohio that are in the agriculture industry, and that is a main staple in our community.
Brooke Saltzberry graduated this month. She says her time spent on the farm instead of a classroom was once in a lifetime.
I don't think if I went to any other school, I would have ever been blessed with something like this.
Shenandoah's student-led farm runs all year long, rain or shine. Reporting for NewsWatch, I'm Morgan Anderson in Sarahsville, Ohio.
Quilt National returns to the Dairy Barn for the summer. The exhibition features more than 80 quilts, some traditional, others not so much. NewsWatch reporter Ariel Lyons has more on the event showcasing the artistry of quilts.
Dairy Barn Art Center is showcasing the world's best in quilts. Quilt National happens every other year, lining the walls of the Dairy Barn's gallery with colorful quilts of every variety, quilts of many shapes, sizes, and colors. Quilts from artists like Jen Bramel.
I think really it's about seeing what different artists can do with this medium.
Bramel says the quilt she made during quarantine is inspired by the chaos of the time.
I've sort of figured out that this meditative stitching is a way for me to process the craziness.
Carson Converse says she hopes to convey perspective in her art.
For me, this series of quilts are about kind of perspective and understanding kind of that I'm a small little piece and that there's a much bigger universe and a lot going on.
She also said seeing the quilts in person is the only way to fully take in their artistry.
First of all, they're all amazing, and you really can't understand the complexity of the quilts unless you see them in person. There's just so much texture and color and subtlety that's happening.
There's over 81 quilts displayed here with artists from 13 different countries.
I think art is what the world needs more of. People should come and see all the quilts. I'm definitely happy to show my quilt, and I'm very proud of this work. It's very important.
Quilt National is on exhibition until September 11th.
If you're interested in seeing these quilts for yourself, the gallery's hours are Wednesday to Sunday from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. Coming up after the break, suicide rates are on the rise in Southeast Ohio. We will have a mental health expert live in studio to talk about the new report. Plus, experts warn we may not be putting sunscreen on the right way.
Rain isn't in the forecast this week, but there's plenty of sunshine, so great time to start breaking out that sunscreen, just like you said, Reese. More when NewsWatch returns.
A new report finds suicide rates in Southeast Ohio are among the highest in the state. Here to talk more about how local organizations are addressing the problem, Robin Harris with the Gallia Jackson Meigs Alcohol, Drug Addiction, and Mental Health Board. Thank you so much for joining us, Robin. Now, what are some of the major causes of suicide that the board has pointed out over time?
You know, that's a difficult question to answer. There are as many variations in how the human brain responds to circumstances, how we react to the environment around us, as there are the variations in human beings. So that one is difficult beyond answering, of course, the obvious signs of depression or a traumatic event, but we're finding that there just are myriad causes.
Yeah.
What we're seeing.
And why do you think the rates are so high in Southeast Ohio?
And that's something that we are really only beginning to study. Cultural factors and stigma have kept us from being able to take a real deep dive into what happens in the life of an individual. We know things such as cultural beliefs about not seeking help outside the family, social isolation, factors of poverty that permeate Appalachia certainly have a strong impact on that. But we also are in the process of studying individual cases and trying to identify trends, even mistakes we may have made in what we assume to be the causes.
And the causes can vary, but what are some of the resources available for these people and families in the region?
We're casting a wide net with that. The state of Ohio has started a 988 national suicide hotline, and for this area it's actually answered here in Athens and by trained counselors. We also have the crisis text line, which a person can text just the word "for hope" to 741-741, and again a trained counselor will come on and text with the person, lead them through the process of kind of identifying their crisis and direct them to local resources. We also are doing training in schools, in faith communities, in community organizations about signs of suicide, how to respond if you believe that a loved one is in trouble. And then we have developed this resource guide that we are putting in hair salons, bars, food banks, churches, any place where we can find people where they are.
Yeah. That's amazing. And what plans does your organization have now to tackle suicide rates in the future?
We are doing a two-prong. What I just explained to you about educating the public, helping people understand where resources are available. We're also simultaneously doing a really deep dive into cultural factors. We've started in all 3 of the counties that we serve suicide review boards, where we are going in and looking at all of the factors around each individual case. We also have individuals that we've trained within our behavioral health system in what we call psychological autopsy. As the stigma is reduced around being able to talk about suicide, we're able to come in and support families, help them through the very complex grief, and begin to understand and potentially point out trends that we may not have seen before that will lead to more effective intervention and prevention.
Well, this is a very complex topic, and thank you so much for the insight that you've given us. We appreciate it. If you want to learn more about the resources provided by the Gallia-Jackson-Meigs Alcohol, Drug Addiction, and Mental Health Board, visit new.gjmboard.org. While many Americans and members of Congress were enjoying the long weekend, the White House and House Republican leadership clinched a tentative deal on raising the debt ceiling Saturday evening. Now that deal needs to pass both chambers of Congress quickly. Karen Kafa has more.
First came the deal, now comes the sale.
We always expected that there would be certain pockets of opposition to this deal, but overall it's a good deal, it's a fair deal, and we're confident that it will get to the president's desk.
And it may not be easy for President Biden to convince some Democrats.
Many of us right now are very angry that we have been held hostage, that we find ourselves in this situation.
And House Speaker Kevin McCarthy to persuade some Republicans.
Not one Republican should vote for this deal. It is a bad deal.
Biden and McCarthy reached a tentative deal Saturday to suspend the nation's debt ceiling and cap non-defense spending for 2 years. Hardline conservatives say it doesn't cut spending enough and want it stopped.
It's time to go back to the drawing table. It's time for us to say no.
Some lawmakers say their dissatisfaction with some parts of the bill is outweighed by the potential consequences.
When we look at the prospect of a first ever default in American history that would truly be a catastrophic event.
House Republican leaders want to put the plan to a floor vote Wednesday. The deal in its legislative form needs to pass both chambers of Congress and reach President Biden's desk by next Monday, June 5th, the day the Treasury Department now says the government will run out of money to pay all its bills. In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
Good evening. I hope everyone out there has had the chance to enjoy this beautiful Memorial Day weekend that we had. temperatures were very comfortable in the 70s and even a little bit in the 80s. We had a couple of clouds on Sunday and a little sprinkle of a shower Sunday evening into Monday, but that quickly went away, leaving us with a gorgeous weekend. Hopefully everyone got the chance to go outside. Right now in Athens, it's about 82 degrees with mostly cloudy skies. We saw some blue skies earlier today. It was absolutely gorgeous outside. This morning was a very refreshing, great time to just get outside and really enjoy these temperatures. So I know a lot of you are off from school now, so it's going to be a great week to really enjoy these conditions. Today we saw an overall high of 85, and tonight we'll see a low of 58. It's a little bit chillier tonight. We're going to see some partly sunny skies, and a lot of that is due to that remaining low pressure system off the coast of the Atlantic right by the Carolinas, Those are just receiving the tail end of those clouds right into southeast Ohio here, but that's not really going to provide any rain for us. We're really just going to see a little bit of cloud coverage over the next couple of hours and even into tonight. And currently we also have a bit of a high pressure system sitting over our area, which is helping to drive those clouds away from us just ever so slightly. We're also going to start taking a look at what's going on out in the Midwest region. A low pressure system producing some thunderstorms and some rain, for that area might be moving into our area. But I'll touch on that here in just a second. Tonight we'll expect an overnight low of 58 with mostly clear skies, so another beautiful night to open up some windows, get outside and enjoy these summer conditions as we start making our way into June. Tomorrow we'll see an 86-degree high, so another beautiful another beautiful day tomorrow. Some very warm temperatures and some mostly sunny skies with that overnight low of 58. Now back over to what I was talking about earlier with that low pressure system. That's going to break up a little bit over the next couple of hours and produce some pockets of rain moving towards our region. Now it's almost like as though there's a dome over our region. So a lot of these rain pockets look like they're going to head right towards us, but instead they're just going to split Ohio and even into the Pennsylvania area, just split us very nicely, so we won't really be seeing any rain even moving into Thursday. We're still going to have this high pressure over here. We're seeing a lot of rain in our surrounding area, but we are clear for these next couple of days, with Wednesday being mostly sunny skies, a high of 86, and Thursday a high of 89 with still mostly sunny skies. So some beautiful weather coming up, and it's going to be quite warm outside. As we look into Friday, we're looking at mostly sunny skies once again with a high temperature of 91. So as we move into this weekend, we're seeing some very warm conditions popping up into the 90s, and we're all kind of adjusting back from that spring chillier weather. So make sure if you are outside this weekend, you are staying nice and hydrated. It's going to be a bit of adjustment going from 70s that are cooler weather to 90s that are warmer with sunny skies, and those overnights are still going to be comfortable in the 60s. And moving into Sunday and Monday, we're still going to see those upper 80s, and Tuesday a slight drop with a 50% chance of showers. But it's still too early to tell what's quite going to happen on Tuesday. I'll be sure to keep you all updated as we move through this week. Back over to you, Reese.
Thanks, Emily. Summer break is officially underway, and as you spend more time outside, don't forget to protect your skin from the sun. Sunscreen is a great tool to do that, but health experts say many people may not apply it the correct way. Mandy Gaither has more on common sunscreen mistakes and how to fix them.
It's that time of year again when many are out enjoying the warmer weather, but protecting your skin is critical.
Sunscreen is the most common and one of the easiest ways to do it. We just have to remember to use our sunscreens.
Dermatologist Susan Masick with the Ohio State University's Wexner Medical Center says sunscreen mistakes are often made when applying it.
They assume they can just apply it when they're already at their activity or they're already at the pool or the beach, but you actually have to apply it about 10 to 15 minutes beforehand. You also have to remember to reapply every 2 to 3 hours.
If you're swimming or sweating, you'll need to reapply even more often. Masick says mineral sunblock may be easier on sensitive skin, but the best kind of sunscreen is the one you'll actually use.
We want to make sure that we're using the type that is both UVA and UVB protective, so it's broad spectrum protection.
Masick says another mistake is not using enough sunscreen. She says you can never put on too much.
We tend to quantify by 2 ping pong balls worth of sunscreen and apply it all over. You want to make sure that you apply to all the areas that are exposed, whether it's your face, your ears, hands, feet.
And don't forget, sunscreens expire. Masick says to replace them every year. For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Masick says sun protection isn't limited to just sunscreen. You can also protect your skin through things like hats, rash guards, long sleeves, and other clothing. Authorities in Iowa are continuing to search for survivors after an apartment complex fire. That story when we return. And to stay up to date on the latest from NewsWatch, check us out on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Anger and desperation are growing at the site of Sunday's partial building collapse in Davenport, Iowa. Some outraged at city leaders accuse them of fast-tracking demolition of the remaining structure. Laura Aguirre has more on protests and what city officials are saying now.
I plead with our community just to let the city do their job.
An emotional plea Tuesday from a family member of Ryan Hitchcock, who's unaccounted for and believed to be inside the rubble of the collapsed apartment building.
The city does have a plan, and pushing any delays is one more day that he's under there.
Ryan's name among those chanted by protesters Tuesday morning outside Davenport's City Hall. They say not enough is being done to search for possible survivors after a 9th person was rescued from the building Monday.
We believe him to be down in the rubble, and they're trying to tear down the building, and I don't believe that's right.
Mike Collier says his cousin has been missing since Sunday's collapse.
Rescue Brandon Colvin.
He wants the city to stop any demolition plans.
Our search teams are currently deployed on site. That building is unstable, and it continues to worsen as time progresses.
The fire chief says at least 2 extensive searches have been conducted using canines, drones, thermal imaging, and trained rescuers.
No confirmed viable signs of life were noted at that time.
The city says it's still evaluating any demolition plans and the timing.
They have given us our word that they are going to treat that already collapsed area with sensitivity. This is the best plan of attack, and we don't want anyone else hurt.
I'm Laura Aguirre reporting.
There are 5 individuals who remain unaccounted. For those, 2 are possibly still in the building. It's a special milestone in a special way. But first, here's a look at what's coming up tonight on your public television station. Finally tonight, an Ohio veteran is celebrating a major milestone birthday. 4 generations traveled to Youngstown to celebrate John Janosick's 100th birthday. But his family members were not the only ones that were part of the celebration. Local officials, Governor Mike DeWine and President Biden wished Janosick a happy birthday and thanking him for his service. Janosick served as a staff sergeant with the 42nd Rainbow Division of the U.S. Army during World War II. The veteran later became a teacher at a local high school and Youngstown State University. And that does it for our broadcast this evening. Thanks for watching. For Emily Dietz, I'm Reese Thompson. Stay tuned for the PBS NewsHour coming up next. And remember, you can find the latest news at any time at WUB.org or follow us on social media. Have a great night.